And I also kind of was like diving deep because I mean you were just got really into it, and I liked the aspect of somewhat diversifying my own portfolio for my PC. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wax Talk with Raw Mint. I'm Carlos.
And I'm Bruce.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about thinking outside of the box when it comes to picking up cards and products within the hobby. So pretty much outside of the main sports, so outside of basketball, football, soccer, hockey, kind of what we've been picking up and kind of a journey that Bruce has taken and that we've both kind of taken when it comes to, I wouldn't say non-sports, but let's say maybe non-main sports within the hobby. But before we get into that, as always, if you could please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, review, rate, review on Apple Podcasts. This really helps us out a lot. It helps us get the word out about the pod. We really enjoy bringing this to you every single week, and we hope that you enjoy listening. So thank you for your time. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode, man.
Yeah, so today we're going to dabble a little bit outside of the normal sports that we normally talk about. For me, it's going to be mainly talking about TCG, especially Pokemon. I still yet haven't gotten into Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! I may not.
What does TCG stand for?
Trading card game. So most TCG games, you can actually play, especially before the pandemic. You would go to a card shop and you would see people playing Pokemon or Magic or whatever it is. And it's actually something that's really good for the community, which I hope that, it can go back to that at some point soon, because it gives kids something to do, going to a card shop, supporting a card shop, and actually playing the game. It's just something good for the youth community. So hopefully that comes back at some point soon. There's also the big tournaments for especially Pokemon, in other countries or states, obviously, and that's also a huge deal. It's worldwide. For me, I fell into it for, I don't know, would you say about a year I got into Pokemon? Like for a solid year, I was pretty dedicated.
I'd probably say, yeah, maybe 10 months to a year.
Yeah, and one of the things that I remember mentioning to Carlos before is if I would have also grown up with Pokemon, I think I would have had a really nice collection to this day, but I just got into it a little bit later because I was always primarily fixed on baseball, football, and basketball. So I had some knowledge about, the unlimited base set and a few other fossil, jungle, stuff like that, but I wasn't really a heavy collector. I didn't even build any binders or anything like that. So recently I got into it for about almost a year or so, and I started building sets, master sets, and I'd put them together in binders, and it was just something new for me to do, to learn, all the different Pokemon, the different types of variations and stuff like that, because for me, I think I was just looking for something that was outside of my comfort zone when it comes to the hobby. So we got into soccer. Still heavy into that. That's probably my favorite thing to collect. But Pokemon for a while was really enjoyable to learn all the different sets that have come out from, 1996 or whatever Japanese up to English 1999, and then so on and so on throughout the years. So that was something that I was really drawn to for a while. And it's still very huge, to this day as far as the hobby goes. A lot of people are still into Pokemon. Pokemon continues to grow. But for me, it's just all right, I got to get back into soccer. And you dabbled into a few other things as well. I mean, what was your favorite outside of the normal sports?
So you took a deep dive into Pokemon, which is pretty sick. You learned, that's the one thing about the hobby that I've enjoyed since I've been a part of it, is learning products, learning different players, different types of things to pick up, and even just learning a whole new section of the hobby. That type of stuff is really exciting, and you're on quite a bit of a journey, dude. It was all Pokemon all day for you there for a while, and
that's all. And I annoyed you, I'm sure, because I was sending you constant cards and trying to get you to get boxes, and you even did rip. You ripped the Darkness Ablaze box, and you pulled the VMAX Charizard out of the only box you ever ripped.
Right, the only booster,
which is huge.
Right,
which is huge.
Yeah, that was pretty exciting actually. It's a fun rip. I really enjoy the artwork And over the years, really, it's kind of like just like timepieces when it comes to the hobby, which is kind of sick, dating back to in the late 90s when it first, started on the scene. But I enjoy the artwork, man. I really like the artwork of Evolutions. I know that Darkness Ablaze is also a really cool set. These are all just like new things, but obviously I respect the OGs, the Fossil, all of those releases of Pokemon. But yeah, I picked up actually picked up two booster boxes of Darkness Ablaze, and I was like, I'm gonna hold one and flip it in the future, and then I'll just rip one because you peer pressured me into it.
I wouldn't stop asking until you did.
But it was fun, dude. It was a great rip. I had a great time. I mean, these days when it comes to picking up hobby boxes of sports or pretty much any box of anything, it's just kind of a letdown when it's like, okay, well, there's only 5 packs and and you're done. So it's like if you wanted to scratch that itch of ripping something, it's kind of over pretty shortly. But as far as booster box goes, I mean, what are they, 36 packs per box?
Normally you get 36 packs, and honestly, depending on what set it is, I mean, they're still relatively affordable. I know there's still the craze of not being able to find much at Walmart or Target, but most hobby shops you can find decently priced boxes for a lot of them. I mean, in the probably 120 to 150 range, which
Right.
opposed to a lot of the sports boxes, I mean, is still more, more of a bargain.
Oh, much more of a bargain. But yeah, I mean, other than that, because I mean, you had picked up so many cool cards, dude. Graded cards. You were ripping a lot of sealed product.
Yeah. Most of the singles I have, honestly, and I pulled some decent stuff, but most of it is from ripping packs, retail, and booster boxes. I did pick up it. Like, the thing is because I wasn't as familiar, like, if it comes to buying like a raw vintage baseball card, I can pretty much identify most things on it, and for whatever the condition is, and at least know if it's been tampered with. And when it comes to Pokemon, like the earlier stuff I was picking up, as far as Raichu was someone I was trying to pick up, so picking up his 1999 Pokemon Unlimited set, holographic, wasn't able to get my hands on a lot of the first edition Shadowless stuff because it's pricey, and it's still relatively pricey, and I was just trying to get into it, so picking up just kind of whatever I could, I guess.
And I also kind of was like diving deep because I mean, you were just got really into it, and I liked the aspect of somewhat diversifying my own portfolio for my PC. And so I was kind of looking into other products, other non-main sports to pick up. And
Yeah.
I picked up, what was it, like maybe like it was like 5 or 6 boxes of Dragon Ball Z. I want to say it was like the second edition.
And some beautiful cards in that set
Oh,
too,
yeah.
which you were able to sneak some out for grading as well, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had them prepped. We haven't really put together a really big TCG type of sub yet. But yeah, I was able to pick out quite a few that were in great shape. I mean, considering it was from the mid 90s, for it to sit wherever it did, I know I picked it up from somewhere online, and I just kind of rolled the dice that hoping that the person stored them properly. And it's kind of the risk you take when you're opening up older product is, are they going to be stuck together? Are they going to be faded? Like, it's
Yeah.
pieces
And that's
of
with
paper.
anything, any old product,
Right.
you don't know, whatever sport, you don't know how it's been stored or where it's been stored.
Right. But that's one thing that I kind of explored when it comes to like non-sports with that type of thing. That's kind of the avenue I explored. Wasn't anything crazy. I mean, you're able to pull a lot of the same like foil cards in the product, like per box. I think you're guaranteed quite a few, and which was nice because considering I don't think the pop report is high at all, and I couldn't find anything on eBay. And growing up, that was one of the few things that I watched growing up religiously as a kid was DBZ, and
Yeah.
that was like the most I knew about it. So that's kind of what I gravitated towards most during that time.
And it's more of a nostalgic rip, I felt like, for you anyway, which is another reason why you enjoyed it. And for me, it's like I was aware of Pokemon. I remember watching it a little bit, but like mainly the topic that we're trying to get across to people is just to explore your avenues. There's no limit as far as, especially if you're very interested in cards. I mean, you just got to find what suits you most. For Pokemon, it's easy to adapt to for anybody because most people are familiar with it and also can appreciate the artwork. So by no means I am any expert as far as Pokemon goes, but I think that my prior knowledge as far as with cards in general goes, it helped me to learn about it in a relatively, decent amount of time, as opposed to if I never knew anything about cards at all and that's what I chose to get into, it might have taken me longer. I don't know, but I feel like I was able to get a grasp on it just because of how long I've been collecting. So trying to explore those avenues is something, even for somebody that's been collecting a long time, I feel like it was really exciting for me, and I still love it, and I'll still pick up certain products if there's certain Pokemon in it that I'm interested in, or certain cards that are coming out. I'll take a shot at maybe a box or retail if I can find it, but it just goes back to, the main love, which is, the familiar sports, but it's nice to explore those different avenues.
You learned so much about Pokemon during that time. What were some of the things that, like, you learned like stuff fast? Like, I remember talking to you, and it was confusing to me because there's a lot of different types of releases and the different product names. What were a few of the resources that you used when you were trying to just learn more about it over the years of the releases? Like, where did you go to find out about products and what to pick up?
That's a great question. There's a few different answers for that. One would be the LCS for me, which is Showtime in Tempe. The guys there, are really knowledgeable about Pokemon, so they kind of led me in the direction, but it came down to at the end of the day, they're like, you really have to just find what you like and collect what you like, just like with anything else. But the guys over at Showtime were a great help. Our friend Brad, he grew up collecting Pokemon, so he was also a big help in it. Also learning how to build a deck, I would ask Brad, because I was getting into it around the time where tournaments and stuff, like, you couldn't play it, but I still was like, I'm gonna collect Pokemon, I might as well try to learn how to play the game. I started getting tips from Brad on how to build a deck. There's videos on YouTube, which is probably the biggest way. Just like anything else, I was watching a lot of different videos in general, like Leonhardt, Real Breaking Nate. There's a bunch of dudes out there. Pokerev is another one, but just watching these dudes rip cases and cases and cases, and they're mainly either doing it for other people that are buying packs, or they're doing it for charity causes, which is another cool thing. But just seeing like what the product looks like from all the different years. These guys rip boxes from start to modern time Pokemon, so you get to really see what cards come in the product, and then you can make a decision on what is in your budget and what you want to try to open yourself, which is kind of cool. But yeah, there's a lot of different, the internet is a very useful thing, like we say, for everything. And YouTube videos, especially those people that are diehard Pokemon fans or whatever you're trying to get into, watch them talk about products. A lot of them will show their top 10 cards or their favorite cards that they have, or they'll just rip boxes and you'll get a better idea. So that was really useful, man. For me, I would watch a YouTube video before I go to bed, and then right after that, I go to eBay and start throwing stuff in my watch list just in case, But yeah, those were probably my biggest resources.
For sure. Yeah, I was like really excited for you. You were ripping so many products, and it's kind of rare these days when in the sports cards world to be able to rip so many products and so many packs at a decent price. Thankfully you were able to pick up a lot of that in retail and get it for, what it's supposed to be going for.
Well, dude, it's like another thing that we've always talked about is getting in on markets like before they explode. I know Pokemon has continued to grow over time, but it was one of those things, just like with soccer. I feel like I was picking up products before. I bought, an example is Evolutions, which is a really cool like anniversary set, where you get the normal looking cards from the base unlimited set. You got some cool
That's from inserts. Pokemon XY, right?
XY Evolutions, yeah, which came out, I believe, in 2016, I want to say. But boxes of that, I want to say I was getting at Showtime for probably around $140, $150 a box. And at one point, they got to about $400 or $500, maybe even more. So my biggest regret at that point was, I remember there was like 3 boxes on the shelf, and I'm like, I should probably get one to rip and one to keep sealed.
These are
and by the time
boxes.
I went back, yeah, booster box of Evolution. So the next time I went back, of course, they were gone. And if I ever saw them again, the price was obviously a lot higher. But that's a certain product that a lot of people like, because it's obviously unaffordable to pick up a sealed box of base set unlimited. So this is kind of like the next best thing, but a lot of people went for that same idea, and then that increased the prices. So just like anything else that has a lot of hype. But Yeah, Evolutions was really fun to rip, especially I remember getting them at a decent price or finding it in retail or whatever else was coming out at that time. So it's just all about the timing, which really helped me to explore it. Now I'm sitting on shoe boxes of so many cards that I hope I can give away to kids, to be honest. If we do a show at some point again, like hopefully, we can be giving out some free Pokemon cards because they have just stacked up.
Yeah, you get a lot of base cards. Well, I mean not base cards, but you get a lot of cards.
For me, it was like I was opening a product enough if I was trying to complete the master set. And you complete most of the regular cards in it, and then you have the rares, which are a little bit harder to get. You get one in every pack or whatever. So for me, it was like I'm going to complete the set with the regular cards, the reverse foils, the reverse hollows, excuse me, the regular hollows, and then leading up to, the full arts and whatnot, the rainbow secret rares. So it's really fun, dude. But for me, it was just getting so time consuming, obviously expensive. And also for me, like I have so many cards, especially for Pokemon, that I want to grade. And stacks and stacks of them that are in card savers ready. And I just got to the point where I was like, I need to hold off on this.
Right.
I need to see some return. You know what I mean?
Right.
I want to get more. I'd rather at some point have more graded Pokemon cards, which I'm stoked to be able to do at some point. But yeah, for me, it was just getting to the point where I was just an addict over it.
Which can happen. It happens a lot. I mean, I've definitely fallen victim to staying up late night watching auctions and bidding on things, and maybe sometimes spending more than I wanted to, but it is what it is. You still got a lot to show for it too.
We're still card addicts. It's just, yeah, I've gotten out of that phase and I've gone back to the normal, realistically soccer, but Pokemon it's really been helpful for me of exploring the avenues that way. Just like, with your Dragon Ball Z stuff that you got, had the idea of trying to go back and look through some of the wrestling cards that I have. I know we're trying to be like outside of sports right now, but wrestling cards have obviously seen a huge increase, especially when it comes to like the Rock rookies and, those kind of guys. But just like everything is just has value now, because a lot of it I think is nostalgia.
Yes, I agree, dude. I agree. And that's kind of a good segue into, like you said, it's not necessarily non-sports, but it's just non-main sports, so it's not the big four in the hobby that are the most popular. And we, like I said earlier, we were interested in diversifying our portfolio a little bit, and not so much like from an investing standpoint, that's at least how I felt. It was more of like, what's other cool stuff that I can get into that I would like to have graded, like pick up graded slabs of. And I picked up some Star Wars slabs from the 70s. Yeah. Just a few of them. Like I picked up a Darth Vader, a Chewie, and I think Han Solo from the 70s. I think it was from the Topps release. We're not necessarily high grades, but still.
But that was
really
like
cool
around the first year, right? Like that stuff you were picking up was like the first Topps Star Wars stuff.
Right. That was that XRC Chewie.
That Wookiee rookie.
That Wookiee rookie, dude. But that was like another thing that I was picking up. And then I kind of had the idea of like, okay, like from an investing standpoint, what is not so much what's the next thing that's going to pop, because you just never really know. I mean, we've gotten lucky and fortunate enough to be super early on soccer, and we just kind of kept that ball rolling with other products and other things to pick up. But you just never really know what's going to pop next. So that's kind of the mindset that I was trying to have. Not so much like, okay, I need to like invest everything, put everything in the same basket, but just picking up things that were really cheap to pick up raw and getting them graded just to supply a new section of the hobby, essentially. And that was around the time when The Last Dance was out, and everybody was talking about GOATs and talking about Tom Brady and Michael Jordan and Kobe and Mike Trout and all of these players and whatnot. And I was just like, okay, what's something I could pick up outside of those big four sports, and like who's like a GOAT that's outside of those? And I was thinking Michael Phelps. Like, one,
yep,
I'm a giant fan of the Olympics. I've watched every Olympics since I was able to watch the Olympics as a kid. It's one thing that my family and I, and mostly my sister, who's super a fanatic, when it comes to the Olympics. So we really bond over that. We bond over it every 4 years. You know, it's really fun to get together every 4 years and just for a month just talk about, you know, the different sports within the Olympics and just have pride in your country and be able to just see these athletes from around the world just performing at their top level, you know, at the biggest peak. And our favorite athlete was Michael Phelps, dude. I mean, he's the most decorated Olympian of all time for a reason. He's an absolute beast. He's just a dominant force. I think he's one of the GOATs when it comes to athletics and sports. He's one of the GOATs. He has to be. He's in the conversation no matter what. And so that's kind of the route that I took. I was like, okay, what's available out there? And thankfully I found this seller in the US that just had stacks and stacks of like the 2012 tops, a few of those early Olympics releases that they had. And let's just say I'm probably going to own the market of me personally. I'm going to own the Michael Phelps market once our submissions come back from grading, because I sent off a lot of those Olympic gold cards.
You bought some big lots, man. How many cards out of those lots did you actually pull aside for grading, would you say?
Altogether, I want to say I sent off like 55 cards, 55 Michael Phelps cards that were like in pristine condition.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm talking like I was able to talk to the guy. Like I reached out to him on eBay before I made the purchase, because he was the only one on eBay really that had singles and like high quantities of them. So I was like, you know, these are dirt cheap. They're not going to be this cheap once they're graded. Because I mean, I'm gonna own pretty much everything that's out there. Like I'm gonna own a high percentage of the pop report. So I reached out to him. He was super cool. He was super fair and reasonable, and I pretty much just bought all the Michael Phelps cards that he had, like literally all of them.
He probably waited so long for that moment. Then you came along and just bought every Michael Phelps card that he had.
I did. And you know what, man? Like I've been thinking about it. I saved him as a seller, obviously, because I was just like waiting for him to drop more stuff. And he's like, dude, you bought me out. I've saved him as a seller, and I have his address still. And I'm going to reach out to him. He wasn't on IG, so I'm going to just reach out to him on eBay and let him know, and send him a tracking number. And I'm going to send him a slab or two.
That's actually really cool. Yeah.
Just to kind of say thank you and just to kind of give back to the hobby, because he hooked it up, dude. Like he really gave me an awesome deal on all those cards.
I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Or he's just going to list it immediately and then you're going to just buy it from him.
Right. But yeah, and I've got a couple parallels of those too. Like they have like the logo in the bottom right corner of those is just paper on the base. And then they have the gold medal version, the bronze medal, and the silver medal. And I'm pretty sure I have like 2 or 3 of the golds out for grading, and maybe like 4 or 5 copper, and like maybe a few silvers. So I was hoping that they'd be back in time for the Olympics this year, but I mean, everybody knows what's going on with PSA, and it's just not in the stars. But Michael Phelps isn't going anywhere. His legend isn't going anywhere. I think that, I mean, he's had a documentary about him on Peacock that dropped maybe like 2 months ago to kind of hype people up for the Olympics. But I could see ESPN doing a proper documentary for his journey in the Olympics.
Yeah. And so many other, individuals in the Olympics that train their whole lives just to participate in these, every 4 years. It's truly amazing. And
to like represent their country too.
Yeah, for sure. And like you're saying, I mean, it's really another avenue. So there's a lot of people into the Olympics. If you have an interest in cards, maybe there's a chance that you could look up one of your favorite players, see if they have any cards. I mean, you could take control of that market as well. That we haven't seen much of it as far as, I know that Michael Phelps has some autos, some greatest stuff we've seen that is just outrageously expensive. But there's other cheaper alternatives to that for Michael Phelps or other guys out there, guys and girls.
Right, Simone Biles.
A lot of individuals, man, like that you could get in on that have cards more than likely. So Olympics, even though it's a sport, it's another avenue outside of the norm. So yeah, that's what we're continuing to go with. Same thing with DC and Marvel. So, you know, people have always been into collecting comics, watching movies, cartoons, stuff like that. That is also another avenue out there for people that are interested. For me, I remember having a few DC and Marvel cards in the mid 90s, sets like Flair and Fleer Metal.
Oh, those Fleer Metals are nasty, dude.
I have a Riddler, I remember, that's like a really, really dope like foil card from like 94 or 95 Fleer Metal that stands out in my mind, and some other stuff. I don't know where they are. They're somewhere tucked away in a closet at my mom's, but at some point hope to be able to go into that. And the same thing with like X-Men, I know was in a lot of the Flair product from 94-ish, I want to say.
Right.
So yeah, and even older stuff, and I know there's more relevant stuff, but a lot of that stuff has gained a lot of value as well. And again, probably for nostalgia purposes, but it's like there really are cards for just about anything if you think about it.
Right.
Like anything that you can think of. What's another one that I sent you a DM the other day, Carlos, was from Panini, actually, in the mid 90s, had a sticker, and one of them was Snoop Dogg.
Right,
so
right,
it was,
right.
And that's actually really cool. It's an oddball thing. You know, there's probably other celebrities or I don't know if it was musicians in that particular year.
It was from 1995 too, which is freaking dope. And that sticker looks so clean. Like I would definitely get that.
It really did.
I think Donnie B Collectibles had it on Instagram if you want to check it out.
Dude, it was just like a soccer card basically, but with Snoop Dogg on it.
But just a hard ass photo of Snoop on the front, just young Snoop. Yeah, that was sick. That kind of. I when you sent that to me, I was like, oh, don't send this to me. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole and I'm going to be picking up all kinds of these releases.
That's why I send you stuff sometimes too at first, just because I'm wondering like, well, maybe Carlos will like pull the trigger on something and then get into it. And then we'll be ripping freaking 1995 Panini stickers that has like Snoop Dogg and Tupac and
dude, that'd be so sick.
Other people.
We need to, I mean, maybe we should cut this out of the episode so we can go scoop that up.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess another thing, I really want to have a full entire episode of your Pokemon journey. I know we kind of talked a little bit more about, we talked about it quite a bit, but I think that your knowledge and just kind of your experience in learning so much over the course of a year, I mean, you learned a lot very quickly. It's really easy to do that in the hobby, but I'd really love to hear all of that. Definitely don't add up all of the wax prices because I don't want to know.
We don't want to do that, especially because I haven't been able to like invest in it. That's why I had to stop, is because I haven't been able to send things out for grading.
Right.
Plus, like, it became impossible to find at Walmart. So I was like, there's a reason for this.
Right.
That I'm not finding it as much. Plus, I haven't enough of it. So yeah, and I don't know. I like a lot of the different products that I've dabbled in. A lot of stuff I've picked up through grading, already graded from like the EX era Delta species. Like that was kind of like one of the favorite ones that I actually gravitated more towards. I was trying to pick up like Blastoise and a few other popular Pokemon, but yeah, it's just I did my research just like anything. I mean, it took me a couple months to really learn, because it's one of those things that it just pushed me because it was a card. I was like, I need to know more about this, and that's why I've continued to explore in whatever ways that I can if I'm passionate enough about it. It's continued for the most part to be soccer and hockey. I've been continuing to try to grow with and have enjoyed ripping hockey a lot. Upper Deck is still a very affordable product as far as recent years go, and you can pull a lot of young guns that are pretty similar as far as prospects go and just kind of tuck them away, and in a few years they may turn into something more.
Right. That's a good point to kind of hammer home with this episode. There's so much to learn. I mean, you said a few times that there's pretty much a card for everything, for a lot of things, and I think that in my journey, outside of meeting new people all across the world and making friends, building connections within the hobby, like continents away, outside of that, outside of yours and I's friendship and our knowledge that we've grown together and the business that we've built with Raw Mints and the kind of presence that we have in the space, outside of that, and of course the financial incentives and the financial help or freedom that it's provided me to be able to do certain things. Outside of those three things, my favorite thing to do is learn things in the hobby. Like it's real easy to do it. It's real easy to like dive deep, and you can do that without spending money.
Yeah,
which is
and
tough
that's how
too,
it should
but...
be. You should do your research before you make these purchases. That's honestly one of the best points that you can make.
Right.
Especially because of how crazy the market is right now. Still, even within the dip, there's still a lot of value in the hobby, and do your research, because that's really what it's about. We're not just saying do your research so you know what is going to make you a lot of money. It's like do your research so you know what products you're going to enjoy opening or collecting, or all that stuff.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be sports. It can be everything else that we're talking about. It just depends on what you like. And one real quick thing I'll bring up too, Power Rangers. Power Rangers used to have cards too. And I specifically remember having them when, I don't know if you remember when the green Power Ranger turned into the white Power Ranger.
Right.
But I remember I have that card, and there was that special sword for it and everything.
Dude, that's fire.
Yeah, dude, there are cards for everything. And we can continue to go on, but it's like anything that you can think of. If you have any interest in cards, and you have a favorite movie or whatever it may be.
You just took the words out of my mouth, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's for everything. You want Shia LaBeouf's rookie card? He's probably got one from Transformers.
The beef from Holes, from Even Stevens.
Or Holes, yeah, Even Stevens.
That Even Stevens XRC. Yeah, dude. I
Beans.
think that I love what Disney's doing and their partnerships with card companies. I'm really enjoying what they're doing, introducing a lot of new products in the market. But man, what I really want to see is like movies, because I'm a huge movie fan. I went to school for film. I'm a film buff. I'm a movie buff, and man, just to be able to have some cards. So like, if that ever happens, you're gonna have to mark this episode and tell me to go listen to it so that I don't spend all of my money.
Don't do it. Just building the biggest Leonardo DiCaprio PC. Possible.
Right. Yeah, dude, Christopher Nolan. Like,
but
that would be crazy.
Think of really how cool that would be. Like bringing up Leonardo DiCaprio, like a movie that I really have always liked is Shutter Island. I mean, can you imagine pulling a card and there's not a jersey, but there's a relic from that movie?
Dude, that would be so sick. That would be so sick.
Like a piece of his hat or his cigarette or something. You know what I mean? In the card, like. I mean, that's a possibility, and that may happen at some point. I mean, for all I know, we could literally make that product ourselves right now, or someone else is going to get the idea to do it. But movies are the next big thing as far as cards go, and there's already some that have released. But I mean, just for certain actors and stuff like that, it's actually a really cool thought.
Yeah, I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. So this week's Ask the Hobby question of the week, we posed to our friend Jared from Upper 90 Cards. That's UPPER 90 CARDSS on Instagram. Be sure to check him out. He's got a really cool PC. He's got some really nice vintage soccer that I really appreciate, and he's got a pretty diverse collection, and he's actually a really cool dude. We talk quite a bit, and he's makes a lot of really good moves in soccer, and we kind of bounce ideas back and forth off each other. So shout out to Jared. We really appreciate you taking the time to answer our question. So our question for him was, with the crazy prices in general of rookie cards in the hobby, how do you feel about second or third year cards for players to avoid that high premium for true rookies? Is this a viable option for collectors of these GOAT players, or do you feel that the true rookie will be the only card that stands the test of time? And this was his response.
Thanks for the question, guys. I think second and third year cards of GOATs are a good move. We already see the price of rookies for GOATs are well above and beyond what a lot of collectors can afford. So I think you're left with the decision to try to buy a rookie in poor condition or move to a second or third year card in decent shape. Two different strategies. I think both are good options. A lot of collectors enjoy cards in the best possible condition. So I think those second and third year cards will always have demand, especially, if it's vintage or, not necessarily, super ultra modern where most cards are 9s or 10s. So anything second and third year in good shape, I think is going to be a good move. I would also like to add that I think an element of nostalgia comes in when people are deciding what card of their favorite player or GOAT to purchase. And those early cards are going to bring back memories. You know, the player might look younger, look different, remind them of when they were up and coming. And so, you know, between the choice of a second or third year card and a 15th year card, I think that second and third year is always going to have a lot of demand.
So that was a pretty good response. I think that with the prices being so high, is like he definitely made some good points of people are going to want nostalgia for those older vintage cards. They're going to gravitate towards, I mean, he made a good point of like the difference between the vintage and the ultra modern stuff. There weren't as many products in, let's say, like a Messi, for example. So his rookie year is 2004, and we all know that Mega Cracks is insanely expensive. Some of the Campeones release of the Mega Cracks from 2004 is pretty pricey, but somewhat affordable if you're looking now. But he also has those 2005, those 2006 releases, and I think that if you can't afford that Mega Cracks, which I would love to have, but I can't really justify spending that type of money these days. I hope to one day, but I'm perfectly fine with picking up a second year or third year Messi graded card. I've been picking up a lot of those, and I just think that when you're collecting these GOATs or these older players, like he said, you know, people are gonna want to have that player, you know, and they're gonna gravitate towards what's in their price range or their budget, you know, if they're playing it smart. How do you feel about second or third year cards?
So that's something I've always wanted to do a full episode on at some point, and I know that I've talked about it before in the past, the importance of second and third year cards. Growing up back in the day, collecting with my grandpa, rookie cards were king, and then it's always a good idea to hold on to the second and third year card, keep it in good shape. And back in the day, you have to remember, you didn't have a bunch of rookies. So, you know, I've never owned a Michael Jordan rookie card, but at some points, you know, we were able to get a second or a third year card. And that's still, I mean, it's just as cool, especially because it's a lot more limited as far as the products and cards, at least, you know, when you start talking 80s to before, whereas opposed to you get into the 90s, especially where you have so many different products, especially for baseball. I remember, I mean, there's like a grip of products. There's a grip of products now, but it's like it was all new, so they were just trying to fill out the different premium products for whatever the time was. But I totally agree with it. I think it's something even worth doing now. Like an example is if you wanted a Prism Luka Doncic silver rookie, can't afford it, try to get that second year Prism silver or even that third year Prism silver. I think it's a good idea. It also makes it fun, you know, if you enjoy collecting a certain player and their cards are kind of out of your price range. Whereas Messi, we know that especially his Mega Cracks, it's like when you look at the price of his Mega Cracks rookie, as opposed to even some of his second or third year, which still can be expensive, it's a huge price difference. Something that you could save up for, something that's more realistic, at least for us, you know, because we don't have that budget where we're just dropping 100,000 on cards or whatever or more. So it's a good alternative, especially for a player with that kind of caliber. I mean, second and third year cards, even Ronaldo. I mean, it's endless. All those top guys that you can think of, you know, their rookies are expensive. Shoot for some second and third year cards. It doesn't have to be the rookie. Work your way up to the rookie.
Right.
When you get to it at some point, you know?
Right. And he made a really good distinction of kind of the decision that you have to make is, do I want a lower graded rookie card, like a very low graded rookie card, maybe not in the best condition, or, you know, you could spend some money on the second or third year card that's in a much better condition, you know, a much higher grade. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's really what you can afford, and I wouldn't recommend picking up outside of your means. So if you're okay with second or third year cards and they're in great shape, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. We do it, and we recommend it for sure. So let's get into our pickups and flips of the week. So my pickup of the week this week is soccer, once again. I picked up a 2018 Panini FIFA 365 Jadon Sancho PSA 9 rookie sticker. This is that foil. It's kind of like a large player photo and then like kind of an action shot on the right. Beautiful sticker. It's kind of like a gold foil looking sticker. It's one of my favorite FIFA 365 releases. And I picked that up from a really cool dude in Canada. I picked that up for $82 USD. So I'm really glad to be able to have a high grade, a PSA 9. I'm taking advantage of this dip right now as a collector and as an investor. And I just think that's an absolute steal considering how much they were going for in the past. What about you?
My pickup is going to be your pickup at some point soon, I'm sure, and it may be another pickup because we're trying to pick up as many of these as we can since the dip has happened. Is a 2019 Panini Foosball Erling Holland rookie sticker. I picked this up in a BGS 8. I can't afford a PSA 9 or a PSA 10 or anything around that type of grade. I picked up a BGS 8. I bought this card for $225. I want to say he had it around $300 or best offer. I'm taking a gamble here, but I what I've seen from Erling Holland, I've really enjoyed watching him. He's an incredibly young, talented player. The fact that you've hyped him up to me as well has also kind of sealed the deal for me. That's a good thing about having a friend in the hobby, is especially when it comes to soccer, which we've been ecstatic about, is we can kind of say, all right, what do you think about this guy and his future? Because he's a really young player, and we think that he's going to continue to pan out, and just do big things in the future, which is awesome. So I picked up that card. Hopefully it won't be my last. I'm going to try to pick up a higher grade if possible, if I can upgrade. But for the time being, I finally got one. I know I had to run it across you as well because there is a reprint to that card depending on the color of the border. So I was able to distinguish that, talk to the seller, and we made a deal, and I finally own one. I'm happy about it.
I'm happy for you, dude. Yeah, that's a huge advantage of taking advantage of the dip right now, is those prices are at a really low affordable price to get in right now. I think that was one of the smartest investments you've made in the hobby, dude, because that guy is going to be a GOAT.
Yeah, and I'm going to hold it. I mean, even if prices go below it or they raise, I mean, I have no need to sell it. Like, this is a player that I'm excited to see grow, and I'm going to try to pick up as many of those rookie stickers as I can, especially compared to his Topps Chrome, Bundesliga, and even Champions League. I mean, they're so expensive.
So my flip of the week is I picked this up in February, so right before the playoffs started. I picked up a 2015 Prism Devin Booker PSA 9. This was the emergent insert of the set. I picked it up for $118 at the time because I knew the Suns were going to win the finals, and they still are going to. And
Yep.
I flipped that this week for $200. So nice, quick, little turnaround from February to July. I have his actual rookie card in a PSA 9 that you actually gifted to me. That's my long-term hold. I'm not letting go of that.
I need that back. I'm just kidding.
So I have that long-term, and I have a stack of raw Devin Booker cards from different products, rookie cards. So getting those out for grading in the future. So I was okay with moving that. What about you?
My flip of the week is going to be a card that I graded myself. I picked this up at a show over a year ago, raw, in a trade. I don't even know what the value was at it, but the guy that I traded it to said, everyone that has looked at this card said it's a PSA 10, and I'm like, I'm going to grade it anyway, but it's a 2017 Topps Heritage Minors, Pete Alonso. This is the autograph. This is an on-card auto. This is a really cool card. I mean, I know the minor league cards don't get as much love as major league, which is understandable, but still, an early rookie card or prospect card of him. When I graded this card, it came back a PSA 10. I had this card valued, I think, around, I don't know, 160 is what I had a price tag on it. The guy offered me 130 on it. I took the deal. Again, a card that I didn't pay anything for. I got in a trade. So this guy was from New York, was a big fan of the Mets. So it's one of those deals that you feel, comfortable with, helping somebody obtain a card for their PC that they're going to enjoy. So I sold that card for 130. Yeah, that's my flip of the week.
Nice, man. So those are our pickups and flips of the week. All right, man. So I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. I'm sure that we could probably have a part 2 of this in the future, which is probably a good idea to explore more things. I wanted to get into like NASCAR, the NASCAR journey that I've had.
I was thinking that too.
But I think we could do a part 2 of this, and maybe by then we'll have other products that we've gotten into by then.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's really going to depend on what else we decide to get into as well and learn more about. It's knowledge is key, and you can do your research and learn about all these avenues that we're talking about, from sports to TCG to comics, anything.
Right.
Anything out there, whatever you're interested in, there's probably a card for it.
Right. So stay tuned for that, because I think that we will, hopefully we'll have something new to talk about as far as outside of the non-Big Four sports. So we wanted to also thank Jared from Upper 90 Cards. That's UPPER90 CARDSS. Be sure to give him a follow. His Instagram will be in the show notes of this episode, so you can give him a follow. He's a really cool dude. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us. We really appreciate his feedback, and really cool dude. Definitely a new friend in the hobby. So we really hope that you enjoyed today's episode, and we hope that you have been enjoying this show. We enjoy producing it and getting it out to you every week. If you have any suggestions, or if you have any questions, or any sort of feedback, we've got a few people that have reached out to us on IG saying that they love the podcast, and that maybe a few of the episodes that we've put out have helped them in their journey. And we've answered questions from the podcast. Like, we've had people direct message us on Instagram, asking us for help. So please continue to do that. That's ultimately the goal of Raw Mints, is to be able to share our knowledge and to learn from other people. So continue to do that and reach out to us on Instagram. That's @RawMints. And you could talk to either of us. We can help however we can. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wax Talk with Raw Mints. I'm Carlos.
And I'm Bruce.
Thank you for listening.